All right. Hi, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to another week of Future of Monies with Libra. My name is Denitha Doe, and I am here with the CEO and founder of Expensify, David Barrett. They do expense reports that don't suck, which I love. Thank you so much for joining today, David.
No problem. I'd like to say expense reports that don't suck as a bold vision. We're trying to improve the world one expense report at a time.
I love that. And so, for those that aren't familiar with Expensify, you guys are huge, but just in case someone listening doesn't know what you do, tell us more about how your product helps accountants.
Sure. Well, I would say Expensify is really built on the premise of automating away all of the busy work, and for the employee, for the manager, and for the finance professional. And so it really starts with receipt capture. We have a mobile app. You take a picture of the receipt. We will read all the information off the receipt automatically, so there's no typing involved. We will automatically link that receipt to the corresponding transaction on your credit card list. So you'll see all of your credit card transactions in Expensify with all of the receipts attached to them. We have a very comprehensive series of reporting functions, so you can build expense reports and submit them, or even have them automatically submitted on behalf of the user. Multi-level approval process throughout the company. All of this, of course, is fully coded with QuickBooks, Xero, NetSuite, basically every accounting package out there. We'll import the chart of accounts, we'll import the jobs, the classes, and so you can fully code all the information at the point of capture. And then, of course, then we'll export it to the accounting package of your choice, and everything will appear neat and clean, exactly where you'd want it. Plus, on top of that, we offer direct deposit reimbursement. We'll withdraw the funds from the employer's account, deposit them into the employee's account the very next day. And so it's really end-to-end expense report management or receipt capture, everything from the very small sole proprietor, which we have tons of those, all the way up to most of the Silicon Valley unicorns like Uber, Square, and all these guys use us. Everything up to Yahoo, a Fortune 500 company, uses us. And so we support the entire market, end-to-end expense reporting.
I love that. And it's such a dream, especially say you're coming back from New Orleans, maybe a little hungover, and you don't want to work on your expense reporting.
Well, no, we want you out at the bar. We don't want you doing your expense report.
I love it. That's where life is, at the bar or with your family, whatever
That too, I guess.
floats your boat. Love that. So you and Expensify are at the cutting edge of accounting. Cloud accounting is a hot topic within the profession, but you're also involved with digital currency, which is getting more and more attention. Tell me more about what attracted you to Bitcoin. When did you first hear about it?
Sure. Well, my background is actually as a software developer, and so I've been involved in peer-to-peer software for a very long time. And so I knew about Bitcoin really early, and I know a lot of the people who are some of the seminal people involved in constructing Bitcoin. And so I was involved in that ecosystem from the very start. And I've always just really enjoyed it. I think that it's a great technology, and I think that it serves a very valid purpose in sort of the financial ecosystem. And I would say, at a high level, I think that Bitcoin is a great technology, but it's not really designed primarily for a first world nation like the United States, because we have a great fiat currency. And so there's really, I would say Bitcoin's primary purpose is for an environment where it has like a really unreliable primary currency. And it gets great adoption throughout, Latin America, South America, Africa, and elsewhere. And I think that so its primary function as a currency is really for places where it's an alternative to a very weak currency. I think here in the States, it's a great investment vehicle, let's say. I think that over time, every portfolio is going to have some exposure to Bitcoin in the same way that you'd have sort of some component of gold and other things. And then I'd say a third part, which I think is maybe just starting, is Bitcoin is really the internet of money. And it's if you need to send money overseas, let's say, especially like cross currency, it's a great and powerful medium. I think that we're going to see more and more Bitcoin adopted as a method of sending currency between countries, just because it's free, it's instant, it's super secure, and it's getting increasingly convenient.
I absolutely love that. And you hit on a good point about the international aspects and how maybe it won't grab as much attention here in the States because it serves a different purpose potentially. And Expensify uses Bitcoin with international expense reporting. Can you walk us through what made you decide on that?
Sure. And so we added. So first off, Expensify is a bit weird. We take our whole company overseas for a month every year, and I think we were actually in Thailand at the time, and we were probably on a train. It's like the middle of the night, and our internet's dead. We've got no batteries, and all we have is a couple bottles of whiskey, sort of thing. And so that's when we get creative about thinking about the future of our product, and we're talking about international reimbursement and how difficult it is, and the options available, and things like this. And then I think someone joked, it's like, oh yeah, we should totally support Bitcoin. We're like, ha, 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 ha. I'm like, actually, yeah, we should. That makes a lot of sense. And so I think Expensify was one of the very first companies, like a legitimate enterprise business, to adopt Bitcoin. And this was right at the very start. And I think like the very next week, it just exploded. And so I don't know how much we had to do with that, but I think we had something to do with it. And so since then, I mean, I've been on Sky B, CNBC, Fox Business News, Bloomberg, and all these different channels talking about Bitcoin in the use in the enterprise. And I think that it's still early. I can't say that it's a widely used feature, but at the same time, I think that it's only going to gain in traction over time because the technology is just getting better and better.
Hmm. And I think it's fair for you to take credit for the explosion as well. I think that's
Well,
totally
thank
fair.
you, thank you.
And I did watch some of your interviews, particularly the one on Fox News a couple of years ago, and you described the structure around the Bitcoin space as a wild, wild west. It's a lot of, it was maturing at the time. Can you
Sure.
tell us, do you think that the space has matured over these last couple of years?
Oh, absolutely. And I think that we're seeing an increasing number of like true VC-backed, highly regulated, and like legitimate businesses come on board. I think one that I really like is a company called Coinbase, for example. In fact, I think it's just last week, maybe this week, I think it was. Coinbase released a feature I've been waiting for this entire time, and I would say the problem with Bitcoin as if you want to use it for money transfer. So if you want to use it for investment, then you just buy it and you hold on to it for a long time. If you want to use it as a currency, then you buy it and you exchange it back and forth with people in the form of Bitcoin. But if you want to use it in the form of money transfer, that means you convert U.S. dollars to Bitcoin. I give them to you and back to euro. And the problem with sort of the money transfer aspect of it is you want to minimize your exposure to a highly volatile marketplace. What's great is same time, such that basically we buy the Bitcoin and immediately send it to you, and then you can configure your account such that when you receive it, you immediately sell it. The way that the combination of the two means that you minimize your exposure to the marketplace to a matter of seconds, and thus you can transfer money effectively internationally without having the same risk of the volatility of the market. And so I think that's just one example of the tools getting so much better and more powerful, and they're still doing this.
It is, that's so exciting how far we've grown and how much more we have to go, but it's still a very viable market. So for accountants that are just getting into the space, just learning about Bitcoin and digital currency, is this something that they should know about? Is this something that they should be focusing on now?
I would say, realistically, if you're an accounting firm or bookkeeper, and you have dozens of clients in their retail and manufacturing, no, like Bitcoin just doesn't probably serve much of a function for the vast majority of the market at this time. I think that, like anything, it's always good to be aware of the technologies because it's the odds are only going to increase that you have a client that's going to ask you about Bitcoin, and so knowing what it is certainly helpful. I would say, especially if you're dealing with companies that deal with foreign contractors or international suppliers, I think that Bitcoin is an increasingly valid option. But realistically, I think that it's still a pretty nascent technology. But I think that there are some, like, for example, if you deal with the medical marijuana space, there is complex issues dealing with money transfer and so forth. Bitcoin could be increasingly valid. It's a legal space, but it's an ambiguous space. And so I think that the more you are on the fringe, for better or worse, I think that the more relevant it'll be in the short term.
Absolutely. So tell us, what do you think the future of money is?
Well, I don't know. So we talked about Bitcoin for a lot, and I think Bitcoin is great. But at the same time, I think that what we have is already pretty amazing. I think the future of money looks a lot like today because I mean, imagine someone invented the credit card today. Imagine Apple Pay and Bitcoin, everything was out there, and then today I came out with something called the credit card, and I was like, "Hey, it's great. It's this little tiny thing. It's basically indestructible. I've positioned these machines all over the world. You put the card in, and you securely get money out in the current currency. You can make instant purchases at every single restaurant and merchant in the entire world. They've got a phone operator standing by to replace these cards." And furthermore, you can also use the card to scrape the ice off your windshield. The combination of all these things, like this would be the most amazing invention of the world if it came out today. But we've sort of forgotten how amazing it is just because we've become so accustomed to it. I think that so we're trying to compete, like Apple Pay and all this stuff is trying to compete with an unbelievably powerful technology, just the credit card. And I actually think that it's going to be, I don't know, I kind of think the future of money looks a lot like today's credit cards. Like maybe more online purchases and maybe the credit card gets a little bit easier, but I don't know if we're going to see a huge disruption in the financial space just because things are already so amazing. I think that the place to disrupt is not the payments industry itself, it's not the money itself. I would say the point of sale machines are getting better. It's much easier to buy things. And subscription things are getting better. Like this is maybe a bit far afield, but I would say the notion of like Trunk Club, where they'll send you out something, and then you just keep whatever you want and mail back the rest. It's like, is that future of money? I don't really know, but it's the future of commerce. This idea of we're just going to bring the product to you because transportation has gotten so good, it opens up new ways of commerce. And so I think that I don't know. I don't think that the world's going to switch to Bitcoin tomorrow. I think some parts will, but probably not where we are. I think that the process of buying in commerce is going to get better with money just being one part of it.
Sure, and that distinction on commerce, I mean, I'm definitely a fan of being able to subscribe to a company and get clothes the next day that are personalized to me, and it's
Yeah, it's amazing.
it's amazing. So I think you're absolutely right. The convenience and the experience of shopping will see a huge change, and potentially the way we're able to purchase things. But it's really the convenience of getting items.
Yeah, I think so.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, David, for your time today.
Right,
And
no problem.
yeah, and thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.
All right, thank you.